I wanted to do a quick video about the Nexus X concert I watched. For those who don't know, I've been a Monbebe for 5 years now since Gambler came out, and all my friends know that I've been studying Korean for 6 years. So actually, I didn't start learning Korean just for monstax because if any if anyone's been a Mon Bebe for longer than maybe a month or two, the boys don't care what language we speak. We could speak any language they want, but they basically say if we feel the same and we are the same, and it's a connection thing, and we understand each other. So that being said, so far I have bought two streaming. No, actually, two streaming shows from Beyond Live. The Connect X show and the X Nexus show. A lot of X's. And then I bought a third one from. If you don't know, it's also a service. I call it From, but in Korean it's written like From. So it's like so you buy, and I bought Changkyun's off the beat concert because I didn't get a concert date. I was the mom by bed that's like, oh, as soon as he goes on tour, I'm going. It didn't get a concert date, so I was like, oh, that didn't work out. Um, uh, but yeah, but this show was so good. There were some funny moments and hilarious and unexpected moments, and but I will say my highlight of the show had to be the solo stages because everyone's solo stage, every member had a great solo stage. I mean, it was hard to pick who was whose favorite because they were all really good and they were all on fire that night. And so it was like, wow. Um, it's like with me being a mom baby, you sit there and you're like, I get to watch this. Of course, it's not for free. You do have to pay for it. So it's like, it's as if you're paying for a concert ticket without actually paying for a concert ticket. So, you know. And there was a little bit going on with, excuse me, my notes just, there was a little bit going on in my household as to that day of the concert. Um, if if nobody knows what's going on or what was going on with our weather at the time, we were under what's called a winter storm advisory. So, which means where I live, there are people in other parts of the world. Like in South Korea, there'll be snow, a lot of snow. You know, but where I live, it's not snow. It's basically we get a lot of ice, which makes it more dangerous. So when you get more ice in the South in the States, more injuries occur. The roadways are a lot less safe because you're slipping and sliding all over the place, and you may lose power for a couple days. So let's just say while that was going on, I was doing the prayer to the power gods that I did not lose power, but I was like, okay, I'll just charge my phone, and I bought this show, so I was going to watch it regardless. I'll just charge my phone, and I won't use it until I use it for the show. And luckily, my house was the only one in my area that did not lose power for that day. And what was so weird was I was like, okay, I'm going to get to watch my show tonight, which started from 1 to 3, like I said. 1 to 3 in the morning, okay? Or supposedly, because it went like to 3:25, and if you watch the entire thing, it was like 3:45 with all the goodbyes and all the waves and all the, because I tend to watch it all. No, I miss nothing. So I watched the whole entire thing and was able to watch it, but it was funny because the morning of the show, when I still had power, I was like, I'm great, we still have power, nothing to worry about. That morning, my power popped off for like an hour, and I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no. And I thought, like, God was trying to show me a sign that I wasn't going to get to watch the show that night. And luckily, it only stayed off for like an hour or two and then popped back on. So, ha ha ha, crisis averted. But I was able to watch it from 1 to 3 that night. And I basically, screencasted it from my phone to my smart TV, and I have my Bluetooth headphones hooked in. I have a Google TV, which takes Bluetooth headphones so you can listen to your TV without disturbing your family. And I live with my family. I don't live by myself. So it's not like I can sit there and be like, I'm listening to a concert and I'm singing every word. And, I can wake you up. And luckily during the weekends, it's only me and my mom. And I basically tell my mom, look, I'm going to listen to this concert. I've been waiting for it for weeks. I'll go to bed when it's over. And basically that's what I did. And so I will say the highlights for me were the solo stages. They were the best part. But then again, I've always loved it. Every song they did for the show was all my favorites. so it was kind of hard to pick, what was my favorite moment. But for those who don't know, I'm also a Changkyun Monbebe, which I've always lived it like I'm a Monbebe first and a Changkyun Monbebe second. That being said, there were certain things that happened, after the show was over that I was not expecting. The songs were over. Changkyun had decided to shave his head for us on that streaming show. On that last, the people that were actually there and the people that were watching at home. So needless to say, my biggest thing was there was a live afterwards where the boys sat down and the show was over and they were in a whole other room and they were sitting down and they were talking to us on Berries. And if you're not on Berries, they just sit there and they, reply to comments and, say thank you, Monbebe, for who came and who watched and that kind of thing. And I remember there was this moment where Minyuk was reading this comment about a Monbebe who said, relax, Changkyun's hair will grow back, and thought that was the reason why we were crying. As a cute baby, I felt like I had to set the record straight. That wasn't why personally I was crying, because I understood shaving your head and sharing that with somebody is part of like going into the military, and it's known as a tender moment, and they're sharing it with us. That's great. What upset me and what made me cry was let me see, how do I phrase this? I've been a Monbebe long enough to know when I could kind of tell when Changkyun's about to like cry and get upset. Because he does really well with holding it in, but you can still tell. So he was sitting there and I saw his eyes start to well up. And I'm sitting there just going, shaving his head was fine. Like, I was like, okay, it's part of it. I know what's to come because he's the last to go into the military. Everyone knew this. Keep in mind, we've all been dreading it for, I would say, several months, because we knew he was the last to go. And like I said, I'm a Changkyun Monbebe, so I knew it was coming. I was just dreading it. So I was like, just don't say the word military, babe. We're fine. Just don't mention it. Just don't go there. We don't. And I was talking to other cute babies, and we were all discussing. We all love the show. We just don't want to talk about what happened because we were all upset. Now, were we all upset because he cut his hair? Not really. For me, it had nothing to do with the length of his hair. I've seen his hair blonde. I've seen his hair purple. I've seen his hair short. I've seen his hair long. It does not matter to me. What mattered to me and what upset us was because there was this moment when you looked up at the show and you saw him tear up with, he was about to cry. And I saw it. And that's what hurt me, because I was like, if he cries, I'm going to cry. And I knew it because I've been a cute Monbebe for a while now. When I first became Monbebe, the first question you get asked, everyone's like, who's your bias? Who's your bias? Who's your bias? Who's your bias? And I'm like, well, I don't have one. I love them all. And I've always maintained that I'm a Monbebe first and a Changkyun second. But that being said, there was a moment where it kind of switched for me, and I don't say the word bias because it typically it holds a negative connotation for me. It implies that I like this one, but I don't like the rest of y'all, and that's not true. That's a very, very misconception about Monbebe. A vast majority of us love all our members all the same, but we can't help who we're drawn to, or or who we like, or and in Changkyun's case, who's breathtaking to us. In my case, so that doesn't mean I don't love all the other members. I love them all the same. But that being said, there's like Minyuk was reading from the live, and he's reading what a comment of a Monbebe who said, "Relax, his hair will grow back," and I'm thinking. And I wanted to talk about it because that's not why we were set in the first place. I knew he was going to shave his head. It's part of it. We know what's going to happen. So roughly, we're going to deal without him for close to 20 months to close to almost 2 years. So, until he gets discharged. We know that. We know that going in. That's not the problem. The problem was when he started to shave his head. I and other Monbebe started to see him well up with tears in his eyes, and I'm just like, and for me, for some reason, I'm fine as long as he doesn't cry. If he cries, then I get upset, and then I stay upset, because I don't think they understand that for us, for Monbebe, I will say, we're both going to miss him, the boys and Monbebe, but I feel like, they're going to miss him more because they're his family, but also they have advantages that we don't have. Like, they can call him on the phone, because I read online, because I looked this up, because they said, well, on the weekends you can go home and visit your mom and dad. But, or, they could just have dinner with him sometime. Most of us Monbebe who don't live in South Korea can't really do that. So, we just have to deal with that in period. No videos, no, voice, no nothing. And just kind of have to cold turkey just go through it. And so when he started crying, I was like, oh God, and he starts to cry, and then I start to cry. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, tears streaming down my face, and I've got tissues, and I'm like, oh my God. And I've been like that ever since. I think he announced it on Berries, and he was wearing a black leather jacket, and was like, if you know any Korean, he's basically like, well, he got his notice. I think he said December 31st, and he said, well, I'm enlisting February the 9th, and I'm sitting there, we've got 4 weeks with him. We've got, and I'm just sitting there dreading that last day. And he has told us if you're on his messaging service, which I am, that he is, he did for his solo stages, Era 404, which, by the way, oh my God, that song was so sick. I was just like, I want it. And the sad part is, I was like, are we getting it before he leaves? He said that he had to do some work on it, and then he's going to release it. But, if that happens or not, we'll have to see, because he's got a lot to do before then, and, him leaving. So, and then he said on phone that he was going to post a behind the scenes of making the song or whatever. And I will say everyone's stages, on that note, everyone's stages were so good. Sean's with Breathe With Me, Breathe For Me. It was actually called No Air. Oh my God, that stage was wow. The choreography and the song was just so, it hit perfectly. It was a beautiful synthesis of the two. But and then Minyuk did this song called Reaching, and Kian did the song called Howling, and of course Juhani did Sting and I believe he did Sting and Touch the Sky. I want to say he did Touch the Sky. And let's see if I'm forgetting. Okay. Oh, and Shonu did a song called. I think it was called like Around and Go. I want to say is what it was called. But like, oh, all these songs were so good, and the rest of the members, I was like, well, I sang those songs they did because I went to the No Limit tour, and when I went to the No Limit tour, Giovanni premiered Voice, but I didn't know what it was at the time. We weren't given a title, so because he didn't have it at the time, so he was just doing the song, and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And people don't know, when I went to Georgia, I was sitting on the floor. And Giovanni's over there, and he's like doing Voice, and I've got my arm up, because when you're a girl in a wheelchair, you can't really jump, and you can scream and like pump your arm up, and that's pretty much it. So like I was doing that. And Giovanni, when he stopped doing the song, he looked over at me because he saw me. And he said, even the people sitting down are giving me energy, and he saw me in my wheelchair, and I was like, oh my God. And I played cool until he walked over, and then I was like, okay. And then I think Changkyun right after that came around and saw me, and he like waved at me and blew me a kiss, and I was like, oh. And I had a little come apart, and I was like, oh my God, yeah. Like that was cool. But they always premiere songs that we'll hear later, I think, on like albums and stuff. So that being said, there were some really good parts of that show. There were some really funny ones. Now that we've talked about the Changkyun shaving the head, we've got to talk about Young cutting the in-ear monitor. Like, oh my God. I'm sure he didn't intend to, but that was the most hilarious moment. Because he didn't mean to. And he's sitting there cutting Changkyun's hair before they went with the shaver and like shaved it. So he's just cutting like crazy, and all of a sudden, Changkyun goes, well, I couldn't hear anything. I got my ear monitor, and he said, I felt through my ear, and there was my wire cut. And he was like, I was laughing because at the time, I was crying because of Changkyun's eyes welling up with tears. And so it was a nice moment of levity that I could laugh right after. And I was like, only Mignon, Jesus. Like, he literally cut his in-ear monitor, and we're laughing so bad. All my Monbebes were laughing about that for 3 days, and we're still talking about it. But that being said, I bought the Nexus bracelets, pre-order bracelets. I wanted the hoodie, but if you know the hoodie and you know anything about Korean clothes, they typically run smaller than US sizes. And when I went to go look, excuse me, oh, I've got air. And basically, when I went to go buy I wanted the hoodie, and under the size, it was like free size. And if anybody doesn't know, I Google what free size is, because in the States, we don't know what that is. Basically, free size is like, I want to say medium to large, but in Korean. So it's actually smaller than US sizes. So I was like, nah, I'm not getting that hoodie because it's not going to fit me. It's just not. And I would say, I have to, speaking on clothing, let me say my favorite stage outfit was the one they did with like the black and blue leather jackets that were like Monster X bejeweled on the back, and Johnny kind of sitting in a chair, and they're all dancing, and it was during Tuscan leather. And it's Tuscan leather, but it's funny because when Johnny does it, he'll go, Tuscan leather, and I'm like, we've all said, I don't know, but I know it was Tuscan leather, and they were wearing black and blue leather jackets. And I was like, how come we never get clothes like that? But that's the purpose of stage clothes, is they're supposed to, reflect off the lights and everything. And they're supposed to be bigger than life than the stuff you wear every day. But I did like those jackets. And I was like, well, why don't we have a Monbebe version of that? Where, like, we could have bejeweled Monbebe on the back, and then like for a special fee, if you wanted to, you could either put your initials or how long you've been on Monbebe, or things like that. And I was like, why aren't we getting jackets like that? So, and for international sizes as well. Like anything that's sold clothes wise, it's like Korean sizes, and nothing against that, but we all aren't that size. So I was kind of bummed by that. But I did get the necklace. I really wanted the necklace. It was really cute. So that being said, the show was great, guys. Like I wish. Let's see. And the other funny part that got me was like, Johnny was like, "Say it with me, next chapter." He said, "New chapter," and he said, "New chapter," and he kept saying it real slow. And I guess that was for like, "Say it with me, new chapter." And I was like, "Okay." And I kind of was laughing so hard because I was like, "I got it, Johnny." Like, I guess so. Like, I got it. You don't need to, like, I don't know. But I found that really funny. He was like, "New chapter." And then, like, Changkyun, my favorite part where they were sitting there talking. And each one of them, when I say Changkyun, you say this. And, like, they kept doing that with each member. And Changkyun gets this part, and he goes, "When I say Changkyun, you say waifu. Changkyun, waifu." And he's like, that means, like, wife in Korean. So he's saying, when I say my name, you say wife. When I say my name, you say wife. So, and I was like, and then when he's saying that, he goes, "I got a lot of wives out there tonight." And I'm like, "Yeah, we've been telling you that for a while." I'm like, yeah, like he just got, "Oh, a lot of wives are out there for me tonight." Yeah, like he's just like, oh, it cracked me up. But that being said, I just wanted to come in on here and say, like, that wasn't why we were upset. His length of his hair is not the problem. I saw him crying, that was the problem, which made me cry. So, I just think they misunderstood why we were actually upset. But I would say if anybody gets a chance to see the show, go see the show. As far as I know, they haven't released anything about U.S. dates, so I'm not sure we're getting any, as far as I know. So, if anybody gets to go see the show, go see the show. I mean, there won't be one moment you're not dancing and singing, because trust me, it was that good. Every song was that good. So, but I will say, because Changkyun is enlisting February the 9th, which happens quicker in South Korea than it does here. He will not be on that tour, and we know this. So the last concert for them with him involving him was February the 1st, the concert that I watched. And because in the beginning we were told he wasn't going to be on that show due to they said due to his condition, and the description said due to his condition, meaning his back. He has had a back injury, or that he has been dealing with, and so he did say to us in Frome that the doctor said that he could perform sitting in a chair, but Changkyun chose to be like, "No, this is my last concert with Monbebe. I'm going to get up and give it everything I got, and do everything." So, and I want to say I thank him for that, and I realize because I saw clips of day one of the Soul show, and he was favoring his back a lot. Day one, you could see he was sore, and so but he still continued to say that for day 2 and day 3 he continued, and still he didn't want to sit in the chair. And if you've ever watched Changkyun for years perform, he is not a sedentary performer. He doesn't sit still. He doesn't prefer it. He would rather get up and move around and, kind of vibe with the audience. And they all love for you to sing their songs back to them. That's one of their favorite things. So, that being said, I'm grateful that he did. I just would have preferred that he, for the longevity of his body, his mind, his spirit, to just say, I hope he didn't do any further injury to his back at all, but we don't know. So he said he was like resting and he was fine, but I just hope that he has a a happy and safe, military experience. And now there are Monbebes who live in South Korea that are able to write to them and give them letters and stuff, but we don't know how to do that. So there's no way to contact them. You can send stuff to Starship, but they're not going to send it to him. So, because he's not there right now. He should be focusing on being in the military and nothing else. But I will say, Era 404 was like, oh my God, it was so good. So much that I like literally kept singing it around the house. Like I was like, I hope we get it before he leaves. But he said we were going to. But I hope so. He said he was going to release it. I don't think he said when, but he did say he was going to do like a behind the scenes video posted on his YouTube. But like I said, if everybody gets a chance, go see Monstax in concert. Like, as for me, I don't know if there are any U.S. dates. I haven't been informed yet. I haven't read anything on Berries that says they are. They've released Latin America, Asia, and I don't think there's anywhere else that they really, or like I think it's like Taipei or something. I don't remember, but they're like those countries. But they haven't released anything about U.S., so I'm not sure the U.S. is even getting any tour dates. Now I may end up being wrong, but like I said, if anybody gets a chance, go see them in concert, because I have, and I saw them at my No Limit show, and it was like such a good experience, and like I had such fun. And I know it's the Monbebe because I'm an older Monbebe, but I was like, I'm not gonna cry, I'm not gonna cry. And as soon as I walked close, guess who started crying? So it ends up happening, and then you end up crying in the car until you go home, and you're like, oh. But while you're there, you have the time of your life, and just to be frozen in that moment is the purpose. So, and I'm a big believer in going to a show and experiencing it, not filming it. Like, yeah, because on my last show, my biggest thing when I was there was watching every Monbebe hold their phone up for like the entire 2 hours and film it. And I was like, I get that you want to see it when you go back home, but I believe in like film a little bit of it, but then experience any of it, because I didn't want anything for me wasted. I didn't want to know anything beforehand, because anything where the boys were doing practice or anything, I was like, I just didn't watch, because I knew I was going to watch the streaming show, and I wanted to experience it myself and sort of take that journey with them. So, with that being said, I'm an authentic Monbebe. I'm the type where I'm more about protecting them rather than like, oh my God, if they don't, date me, I'm just going to like throw away my CDs. Like, no, I don't live like that. I mean, that being said, you can't see right now, but like if I move, you can. There's like a lot of pictures of Changkyun in my room and the boys, but let's see if I move over. Yeah, if I move over, there he is. You can see a little bit of that photo right there. Changkyun, he's like above my bed. But I'm more of like, authentic Monbebe, meaning if they ask me a question, I'm going to be honest with them. The biggest thing that I say, like if you meet somebody in the public eye, you can't think that they sit on a cloud above you. They're just human beings who got lucky enough to do what they love for a living. That doesn't mean they don't want to talk to you. And they're very personal. And if you know anything about my sex, they're very personal. They're very sweet. And so they've always been very loving towards us. So, but that being said, if anybody gets a chance to go to the show, I highly suggest you go. It was a fun show. Due to the way Beyond Live works, they did not give us a VOD, so we do not get to watch it again. But I would say if you go to their show, just enjoy it because you will love every minute of it. Um, but that being said, I felt like I wanted to do a video as to what was really going on and why we were really upset. And it wasn't really about Changkyun cutting his hair. It was more about like um, us seeing him upset. And when I see him upset, just like every Changkyun Monbebe, we get upset with him and we cry because we want to protect his spirit just like he wants to protect ours. So that being said, you know, we're still kind of Changkyun Monbebes. We're still kind of processing and trying to go through the motions and, you know, and just stuff. So, but yeah, that's what it really was about. And I felt like I needed to say, somebody who's been a Monbebe for 5 years, what was really going on in our hearts. Like, it wasn't the hair. The length of your hair has no bearing on us. It was more about we saw him getting upset, and then our Monbebe heart takes over, and we're just like, oh, you get upset that I'm going to cry, and then if you cry, then I'm going to cry, and then we're going to cry together, and it's like, you know, and so for 3 days I just kept picturing him get upset like that, and I really had this innate desire that when he cries, I wish I could just hold him until he smiles again, because he's that, we have that, I feel that tenderness or that sweetness, like I want to save him from everything and make sure that he's okay. So all I can hope is that he has a safe and you know, good time in the military, and he comes back to us as soon as he can. So, but that being said, that was what I wanted to talk about, because I felt like it was getting misconstrued as to what was really going on in our hearts. Because I don't think it was actually the length of his hair. I think it was really what it signified that he was really leaving, and two, that we saw him get upset. And that was the main problem for me specifically. And that's what made me cry. You know, because at the time when the show was over, we didn't know he was going to shave his head. It was like a surprise for Monbebe that he shared that with us. So it wasn't the shaving the head that got me upset. You know, mainly it was him getting upset that got me upset. I saw tears start to roll in his eyes, and I saw him get upset because I could see from his face when he's upset or uncomfortable. So, and it comes with being a Monbebe long enough. You sort of see things, and you're like, oh, something's bothering him right now. I can tell, or something's upsetting him right now, or he's overcome with emotion, and I think that's what it was. I think he was just overcome with emotion, and that's what happened. But that being said, you know, us Monbebes, we love him, and we'll be here when he gets back. So, but yeah, I felt like I wanted to speak on what was really going on in that moment. It wasn't really about the hair. It was about how upset he got. But like I said, if anybody else gets a chance to go to a monstax show, go. You will enjoy it. You will have the time of your life. I don't know anything about U.S. dates yet because they haven't released that, but, you know. But yeah, I will post later at some time. See you guys. Bye.